Hello everyone, this is Kushagra and you are watching Saturday Night Live at CSSBattle. Welcome, I welcome you all. Hi Vaughn, hello. I'm hope I hope I'm spelling it right. If you're here, please drop a hi, hello in the chat so that I know you are here and also let me know if I am audible and visible clearly, and then we'll get on to the stream. First of all, I'm really sorry about today. Couldn't upload the last two targets of the current battle. As I mentioned on the chat on the Discord server, it was my kid's birthday, and I originally planned to upload the last two, as in create the last two, but it was wrong on my part. I overestimated or underestimated. So they'll be uploaded tomorrow, same time, 4:30 p.m. UTC. You'll have the last two targets. Hello everyone. Welcome you all to the Saturday Night Live at CSSBattle. Thank you for coming. Thank you for taking out time. Do let me know if you're here in the chat box. I'm still waiting. So just in case you're new to this stream, I am Kushak Gaur, co-creator of CSSBattle, and I started this stream I think 7 or 8 weeks back. We do this every Saturday night, and the purpose of the stream is like, to start with, it's I wanted to personally learn from the daily targets, the top solutions of the daily targets, understand what kind of creative approaches go in them, the code golfing tricks used in the code. So I wanted to understand, like, if you don't dive into them, they seem so daunting. It's very difficult to understand what they are doing. You really need to understand, inspect, and see what's happening. So that was the personal goal, and that's what I got onto the stream. So that's what we are starting with. But of course, as we go ahead, we plan to do more stuff, like bring in some of the top players, talk with them, understand from them how they play, and more such fun stuff. So do subscribe to the channel if you're new, so that you get notified for the stream, for the future ones. Cool, I think we have quite a few players here. Let's not waste more time and get on to the fun part: reverse engineering some awesome daily target top solutions. Cool. Let me see what all targets I had on my list. So let's go to daily targets. I had one from 6th January. I think we have done that already on some stream. It was this, yeah. Jan 6 is done. 2nd October. Probably this is also done. 2nd October, okay. This one, no. 2nd October is not done, but I don't think it's this one. I also have it drawn, and it's the one which had double rotations. uh, Anybody knows what target was it? I think one of the players also had put an animation showing, like, it had two lines and then you had a rotation to make them vertical. Someone had put an animation, and on the target day itself, which one was it? It was not from October, not November, also December. Nope, not this one. Yeah, it was this one. I had to write 2nd January. I wrote it wrong. Cool, so this is the one. I think let's do this one. This is interesting. Cool. I'm assuming my audio is clear and I'm visible. So let's start. I'll just quickly also ping on the Discord in case anyone has missed the event for the live stream. Oops, my camera fell. Cool. I've pinged on the Discord server. Let's begin. No, I think my camera is stuck. Sorry. Cool. Okay. Camera is fixed. All right. So what we do first is discuss what one might do with a very trivial solution to create this target. So these are quite simple rectangles. What you can do is put in a lot of elements for each of the rectangles and position them, like make them right dimension and then just position them. We could go with absolute positioning for all of them, or what you could do is have containers for each of the rows, like as in the first top, like the top 3 rectangles you put in inside a flex container and then just justify space between, so that will align them. And similarly the middle ones, all the rectangles, they could be in a flex container of their own and then just same separation justification. And similarly the last row. So that's another way to align them instead of absolute positioning. Or another trick could be to create the middle ones using, like, not using separate element for all the rectangles, but you could have a box here with the left and right borders on the box, right? So if you just like miss out the top and the bottom border, it should give something like this. And similarly the rest of the two pair of bars could be another pair of borders. So that's another approach one could use. Yeah, I think, yeah, that's about it as far as straightforward solutions go. Okay, let's come to the fun part. checking out the top solutions, and the top solution for this target, it's actually a tie between Zipibu and Ilya, both on 132 characters. Interesting. uh, they don't look exactly same from the looks of it. At least like the HTML used is different. This one uses 3 image tags, whereas Ilya's uses h1 a p and h1p and h1p. A little bit different, but we'll come to that. Maybe it's just a coincidence. Okay, let's fire up and load Zipibu's solution. Okay, let's unminify this. Sorry, HTML doesn't need to be unminified. So there's this classic style tag with the first declaration. We have a color and a margin, then a nested selector, some margin and padding, and that's it. Okay, cool. And then we wanna comment out all the stuff and start uncommenting one by one and see what everything is doing. And also we'll put in some outline on the element so that we know where each element is. Cool. So by default we get HTML and body, that's what we know, and the solution puts in 3 more tags, 3 more image tags to be specific. So in all we have 5 HTML tags here, and we have outline on all of them, but you can see in the preview we just see one red rectangle, which I believe is just the body, and the image tags do not have outline because they don't have an SRC, and neither they have any dimensions given to them, so they don't have any they don't have a box of their own as of yet. So no red rectangle for them, that's what I mean. Cool. Okay, so the first declaration, which is this, the selector for this declaration is star inside star and star directly inside a star. So this would mean any tag which is directly inside some tag, which applies to everything except the HTML tag, right? HTML tag is not inside anything. Body is directly inside HTML. The image tags are directly inside the body, so it applies on all of them. All right, so the first thing that we do is set a background on them. Now this sets background, remember, on the body, starting from the body on all the other tags, which are body and the 3 image tags. So you get a background which is the background on the body, visible to us right now. Also it puts an outline. Okay, interesting. So our outline, which we added for debugging purposes, that's overwritten very quickly by the solution's own outline. Okay, so this is a solid outline, a pretty big one. The thickness of the outline is 32Q, uses the Q unit, which we know is a good code golfing unit, just one character. And we haven't specified any color in the outline, which means it would pick the current color, as in the color value specified on the current element, right? So that is what the next declaration, sorry, I've been calling this a declaration all this while, I'm sorry, that's the wrong word. This is a rule, basically. This is a rule, right? And this is a rule, and these are declarations. So again, going inside the first rule and uncommenting the next declaration, which is the color declaration. As I mentioned, the color declaration basically wants to set the current color on the current element, which would reflect on the outline, and some other properties as well if they use the current color. So if you'll see, if we uncomment the color declaration, the outline color changes, and this is exactly the blue color without the hash. That's unnecessary. Apparently you can skip the hash. I'm not sure in what conditions. Hey Parag, hello, welcome to the stream. Yeah, I was saying I'm not sure exactly in what conditions you could skip the hash, but it's working here. We can skip the hash here. So that changes the color of the outline. That's the purpose of the color. And then you have a margin, a big margin on the top and bottom, and some margin on the left and right. And we don't see anything because remember we changed the outline color to the blue color, which is also the background color. But if we comment this again, you can see what happens. You see? Okay, you can go in small numbers. So this is 105. So this is the condition when you this is the situation when you don't have any margin on all the elements, and then if you start giving it some margin, 20, 30, 40. Remember, margin basically pushes the elements. So as we are putting margin on the elements from body and within, the body gets separated slowly from the HTML tag. So you can see the body is now a little bit separated from the HTML. Body starts here and it's separated from the HTML, and we want more separation. So then now the top margin has overcome, like it's quite big, and so the whole body is getting pushed downwards, right? I mean, not just the top margin, the top and the bottom margin are so big now, they can't just like squish the body in between, like in the center. So the whole body is getting pushed because of the top margin. And 105 is where the solution reaches the sweet spot. And similarly, we have some margin here, but this is the body without default margin, and this is a bit more, right? And now you might be thinking, like, what are these things? I am assuming these are the 3 image tags, but let's verify them. iframe, you can set the document. Yeah, so this is the HTML. You can see there's no rule being applied to the HTML because the first declaration itself that starts from star directly inside star, which rules out the HTML tag. So we start applying the declaration from the body. Okay, hey Juraj, hello, welcome to the stream. Juraj says keyframes 1 from rotate 0 degree to rotate 90 degree. Exactly, yeah, that was the animation. I think you had put it on the Discord server to demo the approach. Okay, yeah, so we were checking out, like, this is the body. So if we didn't have any margin, this was the body, right? So you can see the black square, that's not part of the body. That is actually the image tags. Image tag, image tag, and image tag, 3 image tags. Yeah, I think so. and that didn't change anything. I'll just try removing. So if I remove person, so I'm just removing the images to see if they are actually rendering. Hey, Gabriel is here. Hey Gabriel, hello, welcome to the stream. Thank you. Okay, so if I remove all the image tags, the black part that we saw, yes, we'll have one less day. We can actually also increase the battle duration by 1 day. That shouldn't be a problem. I mean, the end date is not hard coded, so we can increase it. Actually, we can do it. It's a mistake on our part. The player should have like 7 days, like a week, to compete for the 2 targets. So we'll probably increase the battle end date by 1 day. Yeah, thanks for asking that question. Cool. So we were checking out the image tags, if the black part that we saw here was because of the image tags or not. So as we removed the image tags, it didn't cause any difference until we removed the last one. So it seems like if you have just one image tag, it draws the same thing, but if you keep increasing the number of image tags, doesn't make any difference. And I mean, one is same as any number of image tags, and if you don't have an image tag at all, it causes some difference. I'm not sure what's happening. You see, like I just have one image tag, renders the same, but if I remove this one too, it makes some difference. I don't know what's that. Okay, let's dive in. So this is definitely the body, and we can see the body exactly. So the red background thing, that's the body. Then it has an image tag, and if you see the tooltip which shows the dimension of the image tag, it says 0 0. So every image tag is just a no dimension box, each of them. But even if they have 0 dimension, they do have an outline, which without the color, since I have the color property commented right now, it's unchecked. So that means the outline applies with the default color, which is the black color. So we have outline on the image tags. So even if they are 0 dimension, the outline shows, because that's outside the element, right? And that being a big a thick outline, it shows on the image tags. But why does one tag render same as 3 tags? It behaves as if the outlines are kind of collapsing on each other, making one same as 3, or maybe like more. Is that the case with outlines? But what if we give image tags some dimension with 10 by 10, or maybe more, to make it clear? Okay, that's weird. That's the first image tag, second and third. Okay. Okay. Why is the third one showing differently? What's that white background on the image tag? Why does it render differently? So when there is dimension on all the image tags, they show one after another. Okay, I think yeah, the outline is something that doesn't affect the layout. So even though there's outline, a thick outline on the elements, you can see the image tags are just like they are they're sticking to one another, right, as if there's nothing in between them. So this is the first image tag, this is the second, just like aligned, not aligned, like stuck with the first one, and then the third just besides the second one. And the outlines show without affecting their positions, their layout, anything at all, like they just show around the image tags, right? So yeah, that's the reason when we remove the dimension from the image tag, it collapses to 0 by 0 box, which is like nothing at all, right? So if you have 3 0 by 0 box, they basically show on top of one another because they don't have dimensions, right? They won't move the subsequent one a little ahead because they don't have any width at all. So that's why they are on top of each other, like being nothing at all. And even a 0 by 0 element can have an outline, so that is why each element, each image tag shows an outline around it, and all the image tags being on top of each other, the outline shows on top of each other, and that is why like one element is same as 3 elements. So that doesn't make a difference. Okay, so we were checking out that blue that black thing, that those are the image tags without any dimension, and this was the original color. And so if you put the color back, this is what we have. And then there is margin. Now remember, this applies to all the tags starting from the body tag. So you see, if you put the margin, it gets applied on everything. The body now has a margin, a big top and bottom, and a small left and right margin. And if we go inside the image tags, they also have the same margin, right? The image tag now has top and bottom as 105 pixels margin, and left and right are 20. Now again, the image tags moved, they moved from the top and the left, but this rectangle didn't change, I guess, right? Oh sorry, yeah, the square converted into a rectangle. So let's just focus on one image tag. So this is an image tag, it has a big margin on the top and right, so that pushed it a little bit downwards. And then it has a left margin, so that pushed it away from the left edge of the body by 20 pixels. So that's pushed. But what about these? This is the first image tag, this one is the second, and the third. And so now if we now remember, the image tags have a left and right margin 20 pixels exactly. So even if they are 0 dimensions, which was causing them to show on top of each other, now because they have margin, they are now separated from each other. So even though a 0 dimension thing, they need to be 20 pixels separated, right? So that's the first 0 by 0 image tag. Then after 20 pixels is the another second 0 by 0 image tag. So now if we start removing the image tags, that would we should see a difference, right? If we remove the second one, so you see we see some difference now. Okay, so because of the margin between the image tags now, the margin is like around the image tags, but that causes some separation between the image tags. So that's what I'm saying. The margin between the image tags causes the square, the initial square, to show up like a rectangle now. Okay, so this is what we get from the first rule, which is this. Okay, let me just comment it. Let's keep it like this. Okay, so this is what we have, and then let's come to the second rule. So this is a nested universal selector, and it's nested inside this thing, which was anything directly inside anything. So what we are saying is something which is anywhere inside something which is directly inside something, which basically means this is what we are saying, right? Essentially means 3 levels of nesting: 1, 2 and 3, right? Basically implies the image tags, right? Those are the only elements which are 2 levels deep. So we could have as well written this thing and it would mean the same thing, right? So the first declaration for the image tags is setting the right color. So of course we want the rectangles to be yellow, and that's what the color property does. Again, gets applied to the outline and the image tags turn yellow. Now they need to be at the right position. That's what the margins are doing in the next declaration, setting them at the right position. So there is negative on the top and bottom, which pulls them. So they were pushed down because of the 105 pixel margin, right? Now we pull them back by -30, and the left and right are now 45 instead of the 20 pixel margin, right? So this is what happens. Note that the body also gets pulled, right? So this is the body, I am assuming. Yeah, so the body is also pulled because of the negative margin on the image tags. On the bottom of the image tags there's a negative margin, so that pulls the body, basically reducing the height of the body. So you can see that happening. Our nested rule applies on the image tags. You can see that here, and this is image tag margin. So this is -30 and this was 20 pixel positionally, right? Coming from the previous declaration, that was 20. Yeah, so this is what the margin does. This was 105, it started reducing it. There's no margin at all, so the body shows like this, and then it reduced even further, so that pulls the margin, that pulls the image tags up. This is where we need them to be, -30 pixel. So negative is pulling the image tags up, and then the left and right margin is increased. What was it? It was 40, 45, not sure, some margin. So it separates the image tags even more, and also like pushes the first one a little bit from the left edge. Yeah, it was 45. So we get this, and then there is padding, right? And that would mean the image tags, even though they are 0 dimension, as soon as we give them padding, they'll get some dimension, because the default box shadow that would count the dimension, that would count the padding in the content box, and so the image tags would uh, they'll get some dimension, they'll beef up and not be 0 0 anymore, right? You can see like they are still 0 0 right now, but as soon as we give them padding, you can see they have dimension now 3150. Each image tag is now 3150. So basically we get this, the three boxes. They didn't seem like boxes initially, but that's an amazing approach by the solution, actually visualizing these things as complete boxes. So if you ignore the blue space here and here and imagine this as a continuous yellow stroke, you can visualize this as one box, second box, and third box. So that is what the image tags are converted to using the right margin and the padding. uh, they are yellow boxes, each of them is a yellow box now, and the body is correctly positioned at this place with it's currently black, but that's because we have the blue outline commented, right? So you see this is the final thing, and that gives us the target. Amazing solution. Like this is so uh I don't know what to say, so amazingly creative. Like there's so many elements, like when you see it for the first time, you realize like there are so many elements here, and you will need, like, which we will also discuss, the trivial solution. You might need so many elements for each of the rectangles, but these players can smartly visualize it and see the hidden box here, the complete box here, and that straight away reduces from what elements, like 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12, from 12 elements to just 3 elements, right? Now they suddenly become just like 3 elements with normal borders, so 3 boxes, and then you just want to cut off here and here by 2 lines, right? And that's what the body does for the solution. It just cuts off the 3 image boxes at the right place, right? And you get the image. Amazing solution by Zippy-Poo. Super cool. Let's also check out Ilya's solution, if that's the same or a little bit different. Okay, let's just quickly go and sorry. Okay, it's different. It has some rotations, rotation specifically. And there we go. So again, a rule, a single rule with a nested rule inside, similar structure, but let's see if the approach is similar or same as well or not. Cool. So we have our HTML and body elements, and inside that there are some other elements put explicitly as well. We have an h1, a p, an h1 and a p, and an h1 and a p. So 3 pairs, like 3 sets of an h1p pair, right? Let's also comment out the declarations, and we'll step through them one by one, putting in some debugging properties so that we see elements where they are exactly. So this is the state right now. We have the red outline on the elements, but nothing shows up, and that's because if you see the declaration, the selector of, again, I'm sorry, not the declaration, the selector for this particular rule It's applying on the and the ampersand selector and the p selector, just the two. Ampersand we know means the same as HTML. It's a code golfing way to write HTML, so it can be written as like this. So applying on HTML and the p elements, right? We have the outline on them, and p, because it doesn't have any content, it doesn't have any height, and because it doesn't have any height, it's like a zero height element. If you put an outline on a zero height element, it would show just the outline, right? No content. So this is what it shows. And remember, we have 3 p tags, so each of them have an outline. Let's just verify that quickly. So this is the HTML. It has an outline, doesn't show in the preview because remember the outline shows outside the element, and the HTML is, the edge of the HTML is exactly aligned with the viewport, so the outline show outside the HTML, which means outside the viewport, and you won't see it because we see only things inside the viewport, within the viewport. So HTML has the outline but we don't see it. And then our first rule applies to the p tags. Okay, that's an interesting thing about the HTML structure. So even though all we see are opening tags, there's h1p and h1p, still we get a nested HTML structure, and that is because if you start from here, so we put in a HTML tag and then a p, there's no closing tag, remember. So there is h1 and a p, and since h1 can have a nested p, the browser's what do you say, the part which corrects the error, the parser has to correct the HTML and put in the closing tags at the right places. So it tries to fix the wrong HTML. The part which does that sees that a p tag can be nested inside h1, so it considers like this thing as a valid thing. It assumes that we wanted to write p inside h1, and so we didn't close the h1, and so it considers p inside h1. But then this h1 can't be inside p because h1 is a block element, I think, and can't be inside p, which is I'm not sure if p is also block. We can check. So h1 should be block if we check out the display. Yeah, so if we check out in the computer properties, not the computer properties, what are these? Yeah, I mean the properties on the element. If you check out the display property, it is block, and let's check out the p, that's block 2. So it knows p is inside h1, it like assumes this part correctly, p is inside h1, but then we have another h1. So I think the reason why it separates out, like it doesn't nest h1 inside h1, is because that's invalid. Again, you can't have a main heading inside another main heading, right? Doesn't make sense to have h1 inside h1. So I believe that's the reason why it doesn't considers h1 inside p, because that would make h1 nest inside h1, and so it takes out, it assumes h1 is not nested, and it starts closing p and then this h1 and considers h1 as a sibling of the previous one. So that is what we get. The h1 and the p, they are making this structure. Then the second h1 is taken out, it doesn't assume it inside the first one, and so we get this set of 3, h1p, h1 nesting a p, and again an h1 nesting a p. So we were checking out the p tags, So this is the first P and this is the second P again at the same position, and this is another P again at the same position. And the reason is same as the previous solution. The H1s, if you see, like they are zero height elements. They have a width because they are block, and so they take up all the inline space in their parent. So that's why they have a 384 width. But because they don't have any content, they have a zero height, and zero height elements, they are basically on top of each other without any margin sort of thing. They just show up on each other, and even if you have an outline on them, just like the previous solution, the outlines would show on top of each other as well. So that's why we get this red red outline on top of each other. And you can see the margins in the preview. That's because the paragraphs have a default margin on them. I believe 1 em margin. Yeah, so you have 1 em margin on top and bottom of every p tag by default from the browser. That's why the margin shows up, but the red part is what the p is. Cool. Next thing that the first rule does is set a margin on them as well. So a negative 45 pixel, which should pull the paragraphs and the HTML from the top and the bottom, thereby giving them some height. The HTML already has a height, it would get pulled 45, so 90 pixel height should increase. And similarly for the paragraphs, even though they have zero height right now, putting in some negative top and bottom margin should give them a height. And then a positive margin on the left and right should squish them, reduce their height, basically reduce their width, reduce their inline size, because positive margin pushes. So let's see. Yeah, so this is what we get. Okay, the paragraphs still don't have a height, neither of them. Okay, so we'll talk about the negative. But so first of all, this thing was 0, but as you start giving some left and right, the HTML got separated in the left and right directions, and a negative 45 increased its height, right, like we discussed. So this was 0. If you see, like if you give a positive, the HTML element goes down because of the top margin. But similarly, if you give it a negative margin, what was it, minus 45, yeah, minus 45, so it pulls the HTML from the top and the bottom, right? Now what are the paragraphs? Paragraphs got pushed in because of the smaller HTML and the smaller body. Now they are lesser in width, but they still don't have any height, even though they have a top and bottom negative margin. Okay, we'll come to that. This is the state right now. The next thing is putting a background. So the HTML gets a background, the paragraphs get a background, but since they don't have any height, it doesn't matter. It wouldn't cause any difference. And then we rotate. Okay, so HTML and the paragraphs are rotated now. So let's do one thing. We could remove the margins from the paragraph and see what happens when we rotate. So let's make this 0 and start rotating. You can see the HTML is rotating now. So as the HTML is rotating, Remember, this rule applies on the paragraphs as well. And again, because of the nesting, the rotation cascades. So you rotate HTML by 10 degree. That would mean if you rotate HTML by 10 degree and you also put a 10 degree rotation on something inside the HTML, the inside element would finally get rotated by its rotation plus the rotation of its parent. I'm sorry. So here we have a rotation of 30 degree on the HTML, which is the parent, and on the child, which is the paragraph. So essentially the paragraph has a final rotation of 60 degrees. So that's why you can see as the HTML is rotating, the paragraph is rotating even more, basically double of the rotation on the HTML element. So again, HTML rotating a little bit, the paragraphs rotating even more, double than that. So when it's 90 degree, the HTML is 90 degree rotated, the paragraphs have been rotated by 180 degree. I think that's what the solution has. Yeah. So after a rotation of 90 degree on the HTML and paragraph, this is what we get. The paragraphs have rotated by 180 degree, and so they have, like, they were horizontal, they have flipped now, still horizontal but flipped. Okay, so what does this give us? We have something like this. Now rest of the solution comes from the second rule, which is a nested selector, basically star inside star, which means something inside something. And remember, this is itself nested inside this. So essentially we would get all the elements which are inside something, and which is in turn inside, either inside HTML or inside paragraph, right? So if we see like one by one, if we see like this applied to HTML, that would mean HTML inside that some element, and inside that some element, right? So that would apply to HTML. Inside HTML we have body, and inside that we have h1s. So with the HTML selector, this thing would mean h1s, and with the P selector it would mean nothing, because there's nothing inside P, right? So P is completely empty, so even like two stars don't mean anything at all. So basically star inside star with the P means nothing, it's just there, doesn't do anything, it doesn't apply to any element. This is here for HTML basically. So inside HTML there's body, and inside that we have h1s. So this is essentially getting applied to the h1s. Just to quickly verify. Oops. No, I was wrong. So star and star is not just h1. Yeah, it's not just h1. There's some mistake. So we can verify what does star inside star really apply to. If we inspect it again, so star inside star applies to h1, that's correct, but does it also apply to P? It applies to P. Oh right, it applies to P as well. So remember, a star inside star means anything inside anything, and nested inside HTML, it means inside HTML if there is any element which is inside something, right? This rule would apply to it. So h1 is inside body, p is inside h1, so both satisfy something inside something condition. And so this thing, the second rule, would apply to the h1s and the paragraphs, all of them, right? So writing just h1 was wrong and it caused the wrong result. Basically it applies to the p as well. So for the h1 and the p's, what the second rule does is, first of all, sets a margin on them, and that gives them the right height required, which is this one, I believe. It sets border inline on them, so each one of the paragraph gets a border on left and right, not just the paragraphs but the h1s as well. So this is something similar to the second approach that we discussed in the beginning, the trivial approach. We discussed like this, these could be single elements with left and right borders, right? It would result in something like this. So something like that. The h1 and the p's now have a left and right border, which is what border inline means, left and right inline borders. A big border exactly equal to the thickness required here with the yellow color. And then all we want to do is just like position them at the correct place, right? That is what the margin is doing here. So again, like you won't get the trick part here, but unless you like toggle this thing, this solution doesn't make quite a sense, right? It looks very trivial, like we are just putting in the elements here, the three elements here with the inline borders. That's all what we are doing, right? But if you see this whole solution without the rotation, it looks something like this. It makes more sense here now. You see the HTML element, the one with the red outline at the extremes, that's the HTML element, and inside of the p tags with the inline borders, right? We just quickly inspect and see. So we have the paragraphs which have, so these are the paragraphs, they have their inline borders, so that gives us this thing, right? Now where do these lines come? So that's coming from the h1s. So even the h1s have an inline border, right? So the parent has left and right borders, the paragraph has left and right borders. So essentially it would give something like this, correct? The first pair of h1p, the second pair, then the third pair. So that is what we have. And then comes the trick of the solution. The main crux is the rotation, right? And that gets applied in a cascade manner, causing this thing, right? And we can see it in an animated fashion. So remember, this is getting applied just the HTML and the p's. So that's the only element we want rotation on. And remember, p being inside HTML, whatever rotation HTML gets, p rotates visually by double, even though they have the same rotation, right? Because of the cascade. So now let's see the main trick of the solution in an animated fashion, which would make more sense. So this is the normal stuff without any margin. Now, as you rotate things, so see, the HTML element is rotating. Because of that, the whole thing is rotating, right? The three borders from the three h1s, they start rotating and they become horizontal, which is what we need, right? These things, they become horizontal. So as you rotate them, they become horizontal. We want to just like shift them 90 degrees so that whatever becomes horizontal, that is 90-degree rotation. But the p being nested inside the HTML, they get the 90 from the parent and the 90 rotation on themselves, causing them to turn 180 degree, even though HTML has turned 90 degree, right? So we keep on rotating. So remember, at 45 degrees, So this is 45 degrees. At just 45 degrees the HTML is tilted by 45, but the paragraphs, the nested paragraphs, they have rotated by 90 degrees, double of 45. They have got a rotation of 90 degrees. They have turned from vertical to horizontal, right, with a 90-degree turn. And now if we keep going further, they would again become vertical, which is what we required, but the HTML has now got a rotation of 90-degree, and hence it has become horizontal. They were vertical, they become horizontal, and the paragraphs were vertical. We wanted them to stay vertical, and that's why, like, a 90 and a 90 gives them a 180 rotation, which essentially gives us the same visual output, right? That's what the solution does. Crazy. Again, a good example of rotation in a cascade fashion. That's a very neat trick where you want the child to rotate by a little more amount, double or whatever amount, but like more than the parent. And that's again being used in this amazing solution by Ilya. Crazy. Cool. I think we are 1 hour into the stream. We have seen the top 2 solutions. I think that would be it for this stream. I don't think there are more players left also on the live stream. So yeah, again, a fun stream. Learned quite a few things. Saw another use case for rotation in a cascade fashion. Pretty interesting target and pretty interesting solution. I like the first one actually. Very simple, very clean, no fancy stuff, but the whole trick lies in actually visualizing the target and realizing that you don't need so many elements. They are just like 3 simple boxes, and you just need to cut through them through a simple line. But yeah, both were really great solution. Very creative. Cool. So yeah, that would be it for the stream. I hope you had fun too and learned a thing or two while we reverse engineered the top 2 solutions on January 2nd daily target. I'll see you again on next Saturday, same time. And again, just to reiterate, the last 2 targets would get released tomorrow, same time. We release the targets 4:30 p.m. UTC. Sorry about today, couldn't release them at the right time, but we'll most certainly increase the battle end date by 1 day, so that you get same 1 week for the next 2 targets as well. So that will happen tomorrow. And yeah, if you have any suggestions, feedback about the live stream, for the live stream, how we can make this better, or if you want me to do something else on the stream, something additional on the stream, just let me know in the comments on this video. And do subscribe to the channel so that you get notified about all the future videos that are gonna come. We'll do more fun stuff really soon on the channel. Yeah, that would be it. I hope you have a good night, good day. See you next Saturday, same place, same time. Bye bye, signing off.